The book of Numbers. It's a book of journeys, it's a book of struggles, it's a book about the faithfulness of God and the fickleness of humanity. I wrote this book, yes, me, Moses, as a testament to all that the Israelites experienced after leaving Egypt. It's a reminder that even when God delivers his people from slavery, the journey to the promised land is not always easy. It is a journey filled with tests, with failures, with moments of doubt, and ultimately, with the unwavering presence of God. We were a people freed from captivity, longing for a home promised by God. Yet we were also a people prone to grumbling, to fear, and to forgetting the one who had brought us this far. The wilderness became our classroom, a place where we wrestled with our faith and learned the depths of God's grace. This book, my friends, is not just an ancient account, it's a mirror reflecting our own spiritual journeys today. The book gets its name, Numbers, from the census taken at the beginning and end of the Israelites' journey. It's about the people of God, yes, but it's more than just a head count. It's a reminder that even in the wilderness, God is with us. He knows each of us by name. He sees our struggles, he hears our cries. But this book is about more than just numbers. It's about the wilderness, that place between what was and what will be. It's about the journey of faith, a journey marked by both mountaintop experiences and valley lows. The Israelites had witnessed incredible miracles, the parting of the Red Sea, the provision of manna, the water flowing from the rock. Yet they still struggled to trust God fully. And don't we do the same? We experience God's goodness, we taste his faithfulness, yet we still find ourselves wrestling with doubt and fear. Think of the book of Numbers as a three-part journey. First, there's preparation at Mount Sinai. Here, at the foot of the mountain, God gave the Israelites the law, the 10 Commandments, a blueprint for living in covenant with him. Imagine the scene, thunder echoing, lightning flashing, and God's voice booming from the summit. It was a moment of awe and fear, a reminder of God's power and holiness. Next comes the heart of the book, the wilderness wanderings. It's a time of testing, of complaining, of rebellion, but also of incredible provision and guidance. This is where the familiar stories unfold, the stories of the 12 spies, the rebellion of Korah, the bronze serpent, the water from the rock. Finally, we see the new generation, those who had learned from the mistakes of their parents, preparing to enter the promised land. They stood on the brink of God's promise, ready to claim the inheritance that had been delayed but never forgotten. The book of Numbers reminds us that the path to God's blessings is not always easy. There will be times of waiting, seasons of uncertainty, moments when we question God's plan. Oh, the stories we could tell. Stories of God's guidance through the cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Can you imagine that? A physical manifestation of God's presence leading them through the desolate landscape. But there were also stories of failure and rebellion. Remember the 12 spies sent into Canaan? 10 came back with fear in their hearts, focusing on the giants and the fortified cities. Only 2, Joshua and Caleb, urged the people to trust God, to remember his promises. And who can forget the rebellion of Korah? Driven by pride and jealousy, he challenged Moses' leadership, questioning God's chosen authority. The earth opened up and swallowed them whole, a stark reminder of the danger of challenging God's ordained order. Then there's the story of the bronze serpent. The people, weary of the journey and their own disobedience, grumbled against God and Moses. Venomous snakes invaded their camps. Death was everywhere, but God, in his mercy, provided a way out. He instructed me to make a bronze serpent and lift it up on a pole. Anyone bitten who looked to the serpent would live. And finally, there's the story of my own failure, the time I struck the rock in anger instead of speaking to it as God had commanded. It cost me entry into the promised land, yet even in my disobedience, God's provision continued for the people. Section 5. The Bronze Serpent, a glimpse of grace. The story of the bronze serpent is more than just a historical event. It's a powerful image that points to the very heart of God's plan for salvation. Just as the Israelites who were bitten had to look to the bronze serpent to live, so we too must look to Jesus, who was lifted up on the cross to find healing and forgiveness. You see, the wages of sin is death, just as the venom of the snakes brought death to the Israelites. But God, in his great love, provided a way out. He sent his son Jesus to take the punishment we deserve. John the apostle, who wrote of Jesus' life, put it this way: For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. The bronze serpent was a shadow, a foreshadowing of the ultimate sacrifice that Jesus would make on the cross. Section 6. Finding our way in the wilderness. The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. 40 years! It was a time of testing, of refining, of learning to trust God, even when they didn't understand his ways. Their journey, my friends, is a powerful metaphor for our own spiritual journeys. We all face wilderness seasons in our lives, times of uncertainty, doubt, and fear. We may feel lost, alone, and tempted to give up. But the book of Numbers reminds us that we are not alone in our wilderness wanderings. God is with us, he guides us, he provides for us, he never leaves us nor forsakes us. Just as he was faithful to the Israelites, he is faithful to us. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Remember, the wilderness is not our final destination. It's a pathway, a season of preparation for the promises that lie ahead. Section 7. Trusting the guide in our wilderness. The Israelites had to learn to trust God's guidance even when it didn't make sense. They had to follow the cloud by day and the fire by night, even when they didn't know where they were going. And we too must learn to trust God's guidance in our lives. We may not always understand his ways, his timing, or his methods, but we can trust that he knows what he's doing. Proverbs 3 verses 5-6 puts it this way. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your paths straight. Trusting God doesn't mean we won't face challenges or difficulties. It simply means that we face them with the confidence that he is with us, that he cares for us, and that he will ultimately work all things together for our good. Section 8. When the wilderness feels permanent, the Israelites grumbled and complained. They longed for the comforts of Egypt. They doubted God's goodness. They tested his patience over and over again. We've all been there, haven't we? We've questioned God's plan, wondering why he allows certain trials in our lives. We've begged for a shortcut, a way out of the wilderness. But here's the truth. God uses the wilderness to refine us, to shape us, to mold us into the people he desires us to be. He uses the wilderness to draw us closer to himself. Deuteronomy 8 verse 2 reminds us, "Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to teach you what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands." The wilderness is not a place to be feared, but a place to be embraced. It's a place of growth, of transformation, of discovering the depths of God's love and faithfulness. Section 9. Holding on to hope in the journey. The book of Numbers ends on a note of hope. A new generation, one that had learned from the mistakes of their parents, stood poised to enter the promised land. They had witnessed God's faithfulness in the wilderness, and they were ready to step into the future he had prepared for them. Their story reminds us that no matter how long we wander in the wilderness, God's promises hold true. He is faithful to fulfill his word. Our responsibility is to hold on to hope, to keep trusting, to keep following his lead even when we don't understand. The journey may be long, my friends, but the destination is worth it. Hold on to hope, cling to faith. Trust in the God who is always with you, leading you toward his best.